Aly Raisman is a two-time U.S. Olympic gymnast with 6 medals to her name, but Raisman is known as a trailblazer in gymnastics both in the gym and behind the scenes for another important reason. In November 2017, Aly Raisman spoke to 60 Minutes about the sexual abuse she suffered at the hands of the U.S. Olympic team's doctor, Larry Nassar. The violations began when she was just 15 and continued through the 2012 London Olympics.
You don't want to let yourself believe, I am a victim of sexual abuse. Like, it's really not an easy thing to let yourself believe that.
New to the senior level of gymnastics at the time, Raisman said she wasn't taught to question abusive behavior or the fact that she was examined alone by Nassar. However, Raisman noted that Nassar gained her trust by grooming her, telling 60 Minutes, "He would always bring me desserts or gifts, he would buy me little things, so I really thought he was a nice person. I really thought he was looking out for me. I want people to know, just because someone is nice to you, it does not make it okay for them to ever make you uncomfortable." The gymnast didn't go into further details about Nassar's abuse. However, according to Time magazine's reporting on the experiences of Raisman and other gymnasts, Nassar rarely used gloves during appointments, and the sexual abuse was performed under the guise of fake medical treatments. Larry Nassar was sentenced to 40 to 175 years in prison for criminal sexual conduct on January 24, 2018. At the sentencing hearing, Judge Rosemarie Aquilina allowed any of the 100-plus athletes who had accused Nassar of abuse over the years to address him in the court if they desired. Aly Raisman elected to speak, but she struggled with the decision, noting that it was only watching the testimony of fellow survivors that made her realize she needed to address Nassar too. Calling Nassar a monster who took advantage of everyone's trust, she said in part, "Larry, you do realize now that we, this group of women you so heartlessly abused over such a long period of time, are now a force, and you are nothing. I am also here to tell you to your face, Larry, that you have not taken gymnastics away from me."
Let this sentence strike fear in anyone who thinks it is okay to hurt another person. Abusers, your time is up.
A large portion of her statement admonished the USA Gymnastics organization and the U.S. Olympic Committee for allegedly enabling Nassar's abuse for years after women came forward with allegations. She asked for change within a sport that was, quote, rotting from the inside, and requested that Nassar be punished to the fullest extent of the law. Raisman's statement was comprehensive and strong, but she later told the Today Show that she treated testifying as if it were a competitive meet in order to get through it. Afterward, Raisman admitted, "I was sick. I almost passed out. I had the worst headache for hours." She later told Shape magazine, "You've seen all the brave women and all the brave girls who are speaking at the sentencing this week. I think we're going to change the sport forever, and hopefully we can get to a point where no one in the future has to say Me Too ever again." Aly Raisman has been vocal about the fact that organizations like U.S. Gymnastics and the U.S. Olympic Committee allegedly enabled Larry Nassar's crimes, in part by forcing senior gymnasts to train for the Olympics in subpar and unsafe conditions at the Texas ranch owned by former famed coaches Bella and Marta Caroli. Speaking with the Washington Post, Raisman claimed that gymnasts were forced to sleep in bunk beds that had stained blankets and were sometimes crawling with bugs. She also alleged that they were given cheap food to eat, like powdered eggs for breakfast, they were not given bottled water to drink, and they were sometimes forced to shower without soap. Raisman said the girls did not ask for what they needed for fear of being reprimanded, adding, "Now that I'm away from the sport, it makes me so angry that we were that afraid to ask for soap." From athletic trainers to fellow gymnasts, several people have confirmed Raisman's claims of unsafe training conditions, while she also alleged that these same conditions made it easy for Nassar to be alone with young women and abuse them, sometimes in their beds. Raisman's former teammate, Simone Biles, confirmed that she had been abused by Nassar at the ranch, according to Reuters. USA Gymnastics no longer uses Caroli Ranch for training, as of January 2018. Meanwhile, the couple claims they were unaware of Nassar's abusive behavior. Former U.S. Olympic gymnastics coach John Geddert, who advised the 2012 London team and was suspended by USA Gymnastics in 2018, died by suicide in February 2021. His arraignment on several charges for crimes allegedly committed between 2008 and 2016 was imminent. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel stated, "It is alleged that Geddert used force, fraud, and coercion against the young athletes for financial benefit to him. The victims suffer from disordered eating, including bulimia and anorexia, suicide attempts and self-harm, excessive physical conditioning, repeatedly being forced to perform even when injured, extreme emotional abuse, and physical abuse, including sexual assault." It's unknown if Aly Raisman is a direct victim of Geddert's, as he wasn't her personal coach, but his death is partly why she keeps fighting for an independent investigation into USA Gymnastics and the U.S. Olympic Committee. Noting that Larry Nassar worked at Geddert's gym, Raisman claimed that many powerful men within the U.S. Gymnastics were enabling each other. Raisman told CNN's New Day, "Monsters don't thrive for decades without the help of people, and we need to understand what happened, how this happened. We really need a fully independent investigation, and there has not been one." While USA Gymnastics claimed they have been cooperative with 6 independent investigations, Raisman alleged that they were withholding information, saying, "The scope of the investigation matters. I don't know why USA Gymnastics is saying they're cooperating." While speaking with Today in 2020, Aly Raisman revealed that she deals with PTSD related to the sexual abuse and allegedly poor training conditions she lived through while she was a member of USA Gymnastics. She told Today, "One of the things I've struggled with the most from coming to terms with the sexual abuse is struggling to really trust my gut and really believing myself when I feel like something is wrong." Noting that she has to ask others for confirmation often when she feels like a situation is uncomfortable, Raisman revealed that she is working through this in therapy.
Therapy is so crucial and is so helpful to healing.
Having become an advocate for mental health care and awareness, Raisman even partnered with Cinvello, an app that provides people with mental health support. She told Shape, "I know I have been outspoken. I know I have done a lot of interviews about the abuse, but it doesn't mean it's easy for me. It doesn't mean that it gets easier every time I speak about it. I think when dealing with anxiety, it's important to talk about it even though it's uncomfortable." Speaking about her book, Fierce: How Competing for Myself Changed Everything, which came out in 2017, Raisman added to Shape, "I felt like if I was going to write a book, it was important to include abuse stories because although it was horrific what I and so many others went through, I think that together we're creating an army." Aly Raisman is a 2-time Olympic gymnast and a 3-time gold medalist, but she has also had to deal with body shaming from strangers in public. Back in 2017, the former gymnast shared an incident that happened at an airport on Twitter, posting, "Lady at TSA, gymnast, I recognize you by your biceps. Man at TSA, I don't see any muscles," and continues to stare at me. How rude and uncomfortable. She continued, "I work very hard to be healthy and fit. The fact that a man thinks he can judge my arms pisses me off. I am so sick of this judgmental generation." Raisman later shared with Shape that even Olympic gymnasts feel insecure sometimes, saying, "Everyone struggles with some insecurity. I know sometimes people act like they don't, but I think it's really important to remember that everyone struggles with it, no matter who you are." Aly Raisman's dog Milo was scared of fireworks on the 4th of July holiday weekend and ran away on July 3rd, 2021, leading the former Olympian to share now-deleted pleas on Twitter in hopes that fellow Boston residents would help her find him. Raisman even asked people to put flyers up and at one point offered a reward for a safe return. She posted, "I'm devastated. Milo is my everything. I feel like a piece of me is missing." Thankfully, there is a happy ending to the story. Raisman tweeted on July 9th, "Heroes, Milo is safe. I have him." She also thanked the Good Samaritans who found Milo and returned him to her, adding, "We'll share more soon, but for now, going to snuggle with my everything." A week later, the former gymnast celebrated Milo's first birthday on Instagram, writing alongside a white heart emoji, "Happy first birthday to my favorite. Thankful for you every single day." If you or anyone you know has been a victim of sexual assault, help is available. Visit the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network website or contact RAIN's National Helpline at 1-800-656-HOPE. That's 1-800-656-4673.